Welcome to our video on using props for mindful movement in Pilates. So Shane and Katie are going to help me demonstrate some foam roller exercises. If you don't have a foam roller at home, a lot of these can be done using folded pillows as we demonstrated in the last class, or even a ball underneath the hips, but some of them are really specific to foam rollers because they require the rolling. So I'll point that out when it's only going to be possible to use a foam roller. So please lie on your, position the roller underneath your shoulder blades, and then you can take your hands behind your head. We're just going to do a little rolling forward and back with your knees bent and your head supported here. Aim your elbows about to where the corners of the room are. Yeah, and you can just roll out the upper back. This is one of those, of course, that can only be done using a foam roller. You can try a ball that's bigger and firmer, like almost basketball size, and it might work, but the rolling probably isn't going to feel as good as the stabilization work, which we'll be coming to here in a second. So when you come to about the base of your shoulder blades with the roller on the next one, pause for a moment. Yours is a little tilted, so I'm going to tip it this way. Yeah. So pause lifting your hips up away from the mat if it's comfortable, and see if you can just bring your arms out at sort of a diagonal in front of you. And then from there, we're going to take the head back and the arms back. Do a circle with your arms out to the sides, so not quite all the way behind you, but just to vertical with your arms. Circle the arms out to the sides, both of them. And then come back to the vertical position. And you'll bring your head back as your arms come back slightly behind you. Just a small circle with your arms around to your hips and forward. Good, last one. So the head goes back as the arms go back, circle around, and then bring your hands back behind your head to support your head again. And this time you can let your hips come all the way back to the mat, sitting them down, and roll forward even a little bit more on the roller so that your neck is then supported by the roller. So you can let your arms go out to the sides here, or just down by your hips. And we're just gonna do a little head turn side to side on the roller. Some people have really tight muscles under their skull and in that high neck area, so if this doesn't feel good, again, as always, don't do it. But see if you can pause looking over your right shoulder here and just do a little chin nod. So you want the roller to actually move when doing this movement, so don't stop it with your hands, Katie. See if you can, see if you can get it to actually move a little bit, and then you'll turn your head to the other side and do a little chin nod again. So the more movement you can get with the roller, the more movement you're actually getting through your cervical spine. Good, and then come back to center and imagine there's a pencil on the end of your nose and it's pointing up toward the ceiling, and you'll just draw a little tiny circle on the ceiling with your nose. The roller doesn't need to do anything specific during this. This is just, you could do this lying flat on your back as well, and reverse every time you get to the top of that circle. Yeah, so your roller might move a little bit. Go the other way, yeah. But you'll notice too that your eyes will want to move when you're doing this, which is great for them strengthening the little eye muscles as well. So let them move and wander in a bigger circle now, taking maybe just one more each direction, and reverse at the top, because otherwise you might get dizzy. So from there, let your head come over the roller all the way to the mat, and you might need to help. Actually, before it gets quite to the mat, let your arms just stretch out to the side like you're starting to, Shane, because this is a really nice stretch for the chest for most people. If your head doesn't feel supported enough in this position, just continue rolling back until it's supported enough by the mat. And then when you're ready, when you feel like you're done with that stretch, just continue moving the foam roller down until it comes about under your sacrum, or even a little bit lower into your tush. And we're going to prop ourselves up on the elbows. So see if you can, come upright more. So this way you'll be able to walk the feet in and out, allowing that foam roller to massage the glutes a little bit and your hips. And good, getting a nice stretch for your pecs and the chest as well. So these are all specific, of course, these rolling ones to the foam roller. If you are brave enough to do your IT band stretch, we're going to roll to the right side. The left knee will bend and come in front of your right knee. so that your foam roller is positioned right on the hip. So you can stay actually upright, Katie, like you were, because that demonstrates that the two different positions you can be in. And it's probably easier to position down like Shane is on the elbow, but go ahead and just roll forward and back. And Katie, if you want to come down now, you can. But just know that there are a variety of positions you can use your arms in to be comfortable. And that said, this is probably never the most comfortable position in general for rolling, because it's just hard. It's a place that can be quite painful to roll out the IT band. So when you feel like you've had enough of this side, if you're able to pick up the left foot and just balance with both feet off, then go for it, because that'll be even more weight. But if that doesn't feel possible, you can just keep that left foot in the front. And then when you feel like you've had enough, roll onto facing the mat onto your thighs, and we'll just roll them out before going to the other side. Yeah, so just climb forward on your elbows. You can lift your chest a little bit, lift your head, and then, yeah, see if you can roll all the way down to the knees, because oftentimes that's the part that will feel the tightest, is down there. Good. And then when you're ready, you'll roll to your left on your left hip, position yourself on your left hip, and then place your right foot in front. And again, you can be up on your elbows or on your palms and hands, or down on your elbows. And try to keep your gaze sort of looking out in front of you, just so that the neck is in line with the rest of your spine. If you want to pick up your top leg, you can. And the two sides, you can make a note and just see it's pretty common that they won't be exactly the same in terms of tightness on the two sides. Okay, so when we're done with this, we're gonna turn the roller the long way, the vertical way, I guess, on the mat, so that it's runs parallel to it rather than perpendicular, and then lie with your head still on the same side. So these can be tricky to get on because they do roll, but this is the part of the class that can be substituted using a ball or something else behind your hips. So this will just be a little bit more balance work if you're using the roller. So your arms will be down at your sides. You too, because you're on raised mats, can actually bring your hands to the sides of the mat if you want, because these mats are a little bit more cushy. You might feel like you need that support. So let's start with a knee fold, and just on your inhale, fold one knee up to tabletop, and then on your exhale, let that foot come back to the floor. And inhale to the other side, lifting the knee up, and exhale and bring that foot back to the floor. And now you can just start alternating a little bit quicker, so that as one leg is coming down, if you feel like you can start lifting the other leg up, then do. Good. Keep the feeling of the lower belly sinking down toward the foam roller. It doesn't have to be, the back doesn't have to be touching the entire time, but you don't want to be arching away from it any more than when you started. And then we're going to try holding both knees at the top here. So this is stabilization work to the ultimate degree here. We're going to try, or these women are going to try lifting one arm off. So I would recommend really pressing down firmly with your other arm as you lift one arm up. Good. Bring that arm down to the mat, and then lift the other arm up. Good. And use your breath. So inhaling up, exhaling down will help, because the exhale facilitates that lower abdominal contraction. So if you move with your breath, not only are you helping your body relax and your parasympathetic nervous system kick in, you're also really integrating the movement with your muscular contractions, which is what helps you retain stability. So we're going to stop here with the arms down at the bottom, bend your knees. I'm going to give you both a ball, or I'm going to give one of you a ball and one of you a block between your heels. So you can hold this, and we'll just do a few for you, Shane, because the block may not want to stay there, but hold this in frog position with the toes apart but the heels towards center in turnout. Bend your knees as close to you as you can, and then just straighten your legs out in front. So this is similar to the leg series that we demonstrated in the last video, which there are a lot of variations of. We'll just do 2 more of these frogs, and on the next one, Shane, I'm going to take your block, and Katie, you're just going to press into your ball and do 10 little pulses. Shane, you can do beats, just opening and closing. So feel free to always take your legs higher if it's starting to feel like you're losing your balance a bit, or if it's just getting hard because you've got long legs, you can go a little bit higher. And then from there, we'll bend the knees, bring them back into the chest. I'm going to take your ball, Katie, and we'll do some leg circles. So you can extend your legs out front again. From there, take them up to the vertical line, open just about the width of your mat, circle down, around, and back together at the bottom. And then go up, around, circle, and together at the bottom. So maintain your turnout the whole span of the circle. If your toes start apart, they should finish apart. And then we'll reverse directions. We're going to go down through center, around and up to the top. Same thing with the legs. If you start with your legs straight, try to keep them straight the whole time. It's totally fine to have them a little bit bent though, and if you start with them bent, then try and finish with them bent. And it's just for the purpose of feeling aware of what your body is doing. So hug your knees into your chest. You can do a little sway side to side with your knees as long as you feel like you're not going to fall off. Let's actually bring the feet down to the mat and open them a little wider, because this feels really nice as an alternate hip stretch to the one we did last class. Side sway your knees over to the right side, and the wider apart your feet are on this stretch, the more you will feel as a stretch. You can also just do this flat on the mat, and it doesn't have to be your hips and your pelvis don't have to be lifted above your feet, but it'll feel good regardless. Good, and from there we're going to take the roller away so you can just set it off to the side. I'm going to grab some towels for our next section, and we're going to start seated facing forward. So I will give you each a towel. These are Fletcher Pilates towels. We're not doing Fletcher Pilates work with these towels because that's a licensed body of work. We're just doing some fundamentals that are more general to Pilates. So face forward, face this way, and Katie, if you can just come a little bit to the left, we're gonna have the palms up in the lap and the hands pretty close together. You wanna start, so you can use at home, if you don't have a braided towel, you can use just a regular bath or hand towel twisted so that it becomes stretchy like this. So the idea is that if you pull the towel apart in your hands, yeah, even a little bit closer together than that, starting pretty close together so that you'll feel this easily, and then we can always go wider for more challenge. When you pull the towel apart, you should feel some looseness in the tension there so that you can pull it taut, and then we'll release. So it's an inhale to pull the towel taut, and try and get the feeling of squeezing your elbows into your rib cage while pulling the arms or the hands further apart from each other. Good, one more time like that. Pull the towel apart, bringing your elbows in closer to your body. And then try this with your hands a little bit higher, Shane, so that so they're not resting on your thighs, because that will make it more challenging as well. So this time we're gonna widen the grip on the towel. So this becomes harder, maybe not quite that wide, just about 10 inches, maybe 11 inches. So when you pull the towel apart, now it's a little bit harder to let your elbows come in, but it's the same idea, is that we're externally rotating in the shoulder. I'll show you on Katie's shoulders here, in order to pull the towel apart. Good, and then from there you can just turn and face the front of your mats and lie down on your backs. We'll just do a little half roll back to the mat and having your feet flat on the mat. And then just bring the towel above your chest. Your knees can be bent, feet flat on the mat for this next exercise. So we'll use that same idea of pulling the towel taut here, but we're gonna have the hands a little bit wider on the towel. And wrap your wrists forward so that they're in a straight line. I always like to imagine having a cast on, because that makes sense to me, to keep the wrist straight. Otherwise it can be really hard to find that position. So on your inhale, again, you'll pull the towel apart, but see if you can do it with a feeling of really sinking the shoulder blades down into the mat, and then let everything relax. So if you notice any tension creeping up into your neck or shoulders, just wiggle them around, loosen them up. And again, inhale, pull the towel apart, and exhale, hold the towel taut, and then inhale and release. So we'll do that a couple more times. Inhaling to pull, exhale, keep that tension, sinking the ribs down into the mat, and inhale, release. One more time, imagine growing even longer through your spine, so it's like your tail is coming out towards your feet and your head is lengthening out even beyond where it actually is on the mat, and then inhale, release. So now we're gonna work the vertical direction here. We're gonna pull as if someone's pulling your fingertips or your fists up toward the ceiling. Pull your shoulder blades away from the mat, and then on your exhale, pull your shoulder blades back to the mat. And this is protraction and then retraction, the coming back of the shoulder blades past the to the mat or past the mat, even in your mind's eye. So when you're doing this, you want to make sure that your shoulder blades land on the mat, not up by your ears, but slightly downward on your back. We don't want to jam the shoulders down, but we want to feel like they're slightly pulling down toward your hips. So you might feel your lats and your armpit muscles in general engaging a little bit more. So,
and are we pulling this apart as we're moving up and down gently, or?
A little bit, yeah. You don't
Kinda
have
static?
to have a lot of tension on it, but
Okay.
having a little bit of tension is fine. And then, yeah, just not so much that you feel your neck and shoulders gripping.
Okay.
Yours feel like a little bit, yeah, that's better. So,
And they're
yeah, you can't, so with the towel work, you don't want to stay pulling on it the whole time because eventually your muscles will fatigue and then you'll start to feel it up in your neck and shoulders. So if you're feeling that, then don't pull it taut for a while, let them rest, and then try again another time. So we're going to take the towel now over the head, inhaling, pull it taut. You can go as far back as you want. If your hands can reach the mat and your shoulders feel happy with that, that's fine. You can go all the way back. Just make sure your back isn't arching off the mat. This looks good for both of them. And then you'll exhale and bring your arms back up above your chest. Nice. So as you inhale and pull the towel apart, as you go back, I want you to think of bringing your armpits down towards your pelvis. Yeah, so that it's almost like you're creating a triangle shape between your two hands and the base of your pelvis. One more. Inhaling, reach your arms back and feel the armpits pulling down in opposition. Nice. And then just bring your arms over your chest again. We'll do one more pull here. See if you can isolate even more and feel those armpit muscles engage. And then bring the towel back above your head, and we'll do that there now. So just holding the towel slightly off the mat, like maybe 3 or 4 inches, whatever feels manageable for your shoulders to not tense, and pull the towel apart and exhale, release. Let's do that again. Inhale, pull the towel apart and exhale, release. Nice. Bring your towel all the way down, and we're going to thread it for one last thing lying on our backs. Thread it behind your lower back. So it'll, yeah, you can lift your pelvis up. And this is just a demonstration of how you know if you're in the proper pelvic position. So even a little bit higher, Katie, than that. Yeah. So everybody has a natural lumbar curve that is just right, the right shape for their body. And if you have your pelvis, we've talked about that pelvic tilt before, and if you have your triangle on your pelvis, your pubic bone should be in line with your thumbs, in line with your crest of your pelvis, so that it's neutral or parallel to the floor. So if you're maintaining that position, you will probably have enough space behind your lower back that if you're not engaged in your abdominals, if I try and pull your towel out, it'll probably start to move. And I kind of had to pull hard, but you can move your towel up a little bit too, because your lumbar curve is a little higher. So now we're gonna test, like, okay, if you're relaxed and the towel's in the right place, it'll be able to move. Now we're going to try not to move the pelvis. It's still in that same place where you're in neutral. Try just dropping your abdominals down to the mat, like someone's just set a heavy platter of food on your pelvis, and see if that allows the towel to stay still. So it did. Make sure when you do this, drop down even more, Katie. So don't tuck, but just let the muscles themselves sink. Yeah, when you do this, that was better. You want to watch and make sure that you're not pushing outward, because for some people, they've been trained to do abdominal work in such a manner that it's actually pushing the abdominals outward, and you'll be able to feel it if you put your hands on your belly while you're doing this. So that's just a way that you can test. You can do it with a hand towel that's twisted as well, or a bath towel that's twisted. And some people, I should say, have a big enough lumbar curve that you have to double the towel. It's not necessarily going to stay put just from the abdominals if your back has a bigger curve in the lumbar area. So rather than just rock up to sitting or roll to the side and come up to sitting, we're going to do those 2 positions with the towel sitting, with the knees over the edge of the mat. So take your arms out in front of you first and widen your hands on the towel so that you're at least shoulder distance apart, but maybe even a little wider than that, Katie. Even wider. Yeah, so it's going to feel probably a little bit challenging to hold the arms that far apart. And what that will do, hopefully, is turn on your armpit muscles. That's what I call them, because there are more than one of them. So for short, armpit muscles should be activated. From there, we'll pull the towel apart, inhaling again. And then on your exhale, you can release the towel and let it relax. And again, inhale, pulling your towel apart. And you can still think of the armpits to the hips or your ribs pulling down to your hips, but here you're sitting tall, so the dimension or the direction that you're going to feel the challenge in is just holding your arms out there in space because gravity wants to pull them down. So holding your arms out front, we're going to pull the towel tight and try and feel those same muscles underneath your armpits engage. I would widen your grip just for both of you just a little bit wider on the towel. So you want it at least the distance between your shoulders, but quite a bit more if possible. So if you feel when you pull the towel taut that you only feel neck tension, then just skip this step and come back to it later, because as you strengthen more in your lower trapezius and latissimus muscles, you will be able to hold the arms up there from those muscles longer. So we're going to pull the towel taut on this next one. Inhale to keep it taut, bring the towel over your head. See if you can go all the way to the top. Good. This is just like what we did lying down on the mat, only now you're vertical. Release and pull the towel again 3 more times. Good. And the wrists are staying nice and straight. And now you feel the engagement down the arms into that mid back, because the idea in Pilates is that we hold our arms from our backs. So one more time. And then we'll do just a couple moving up and down. So you can inhale, bring the towel down in front of your body, keeping it slightly taut. And then exhale, when you pull up, you can tighten it more. Yeah. And then inhale, release there. Let it sag just a little bit. And exhale, pull it taut, bring it back down in front of your chest. Last one. Inhale, moving your arms from your back muscles. Pull the arms above your chest and above your head. Nice, kitty. And let it sag for a moment, inhaling, release. Exhale to engage and pull it taut and bring it back down in front of you. Good. And then let's just do a couple bending and straightening, keeping the towel taut. This is a strange feeling because we often will let the tension go when we do this sort of bending and straightening, but most people are quite tight in the pecs. So I wanted to finish with one last idea for stretching them, which is to use a doorway, or in this case in a Pilates studio we have these bars to stretch the chest. So you can set your towels down. Actually, let's show this with the towels. First, if you have a towel, stand or kneel, let's kneel on the mat facing this direction again, and just bring your towel behind you. We'll use the towels for this before we use the bars. So you can have your palms facing your body and then just pull the towel apart a little bit and let your chest, stretch as the arms lift and lower. And you can go, if you're a really flexible person and you widen your grip enough, you can go all the way over your head with this, but that's not necessarily the goal. It's more just to get the chest stretched out. And especially if you were feeling the neck and shoulders a lot when you had the towel out in front of you, this can be kind of like an antidote to that, where you just feel all of this stretch out and the back muscles sometimes can feel a little bit more engaged in a way that makes sense. So because we're here in a Pilates studio, we can also do a stretch with the hands on the poles. So if you want to scoot back, or Katie, you can just turn around and grab your poles, then you can lean into this. This can also be at home done just in a doorway, holding a door frame from the outside side of the door, and then just leaning forward. And to the degree that it feels comfortable on your back, you can really let your pelvis go and fall forward and give the weight of your body to that stretch, or you can hold back a little bit if it feels better. And then we'll just sit back and do a little counter stretch to that, bringing the arms forward on the mat, around the lower back.
I was gonna ask, I tend to lift my knees on that because lift my feet because it makes my knees feel better. Does it matter?
Yeah, that's fine. If your knees weren't feeling comfortable, then that's totally fine. Yeah. So take a round back stretch, and then you can roll back up to a seated position. And we'll be doing one last class in standing Pilates that you can watch following this one. Thank you.